Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, it does not appear to have any give and is certainly not showing any signs of yielding as the Igbo leader Nnamdi Kanu continues to mount pressure on the Malam Buhari regime, and there's no give in sight. So with that guys, I bring you this. Nnamdi Kanu gives federal government fresh conditions for dialogue. So that's the headline. Nnamdi Kanu gives federal government fresh conditions for dialogue. So now let's see what the Igbo leader has to say for himself this time around. The leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB and director of Radio Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has given the federal government of Nigeria fresh conditions upon which he will sit on a round table with its officials to discuss the issues pertaining to the Biafran struggle. A statement made available by the Media and Publicity Secretary of IPOB, Emma Powerful, quoted Kanu as saying that he was ready to dialogue if the Nigerian government was willing to talk honestly and consider a referendum on self-determination for the Biafran people. Kanu, in a release, said that it will take place in a neutral space and organized by the United Nations. But even now, if a Nigerian government was willing to talk honestly and openly about our demands and to consider a referendum on self-determination for the Biafran people in a neutral space provided by the United Nations, I would be there at the table. Look around Africa today. There are some countries with a functioning democracy where the rule of law is respected and free and fair elections allowed, but not Nigeria. Our struggle for self-determination is the struggle of Africa's post-colonization from Algeria to the Cape. If we achieve this, perhaps we can lead other African countries to bring democracy and respect for law and human rights into the lives of African people. The IPOB leader said his demand for a neutral place for any dialogue was predicated on the invasion of his home in Umuahia in 2017 by the military, who he said came to kill and not to arrest him, saying with such his safety was not guaranteed anywhere in Nigeria. The men, that is the soldiers, who came to my family home in September 2017 came to kill me. I do not doubt this. If they wanted to arrest me or question me, they would have sent the police or agents of the DSS. Why send soldiers trained to kill, if not to kill? I had wanted my day in court in 2017, but the military response tells me that the rule of law in Nigeria has collapsed. Decrying the invasion further, Kanu said, the attack took its toll on my parents. My mother suffered heart complications as a result of the trauma and stress of the Nigerian Army's invasion of my house. She became very ill and died earlier this year. It would not be an overstatement to say the primary cause of my mother's death was Operation Python Dance 2, and by my mother, of course, I mean Nnamdi Kanu's mother. So let's just park it where it is. I have lost a mother. My father, a strong man, a chief amongst Biafrans, has lost his life's companion. Sadly, we have watched his health decline since the attack on our home and my mother's death. I mourn my mother. I mourn the entire IPOB family member who had given their lives to protect mine. So now this is now Kanu. I wouldn't want to say that he's now sounding contrite, because that would be the wrong use of adjective, but is certainly sounding reasoned and reasonable to say that, look, this thing is not going away, so we might as well discuss it, and a discussion would have to take place at some point, because the fever of this IPOB mindset has completely now polluted the mindset of a particular section of the Igbo community, especially the younger demography within that particular ethnicity within the Nigerian superstructure. So there's no getting away from it. You cannot wish it away and you cannot ignore it. So you might as well confront it frontally. So they have now attempted to confront it frontally via sending the army to this guy's house. And by the way, I agree with what Kanu said, because I think I have said something similar in a previous video. They did not send the army to go there and arrest him. They sent the army there to go there and wipe him out. Because if they wanted to arrest this guy, we're talking about an unarmed organization, by the way, because the IPOB are not known for carrying any weapons. What is it called? Those ones, the Sunnis, the Shiites rather, they are the ones that go storming the Senate all the time. They carry weapons, but the IPOB are not known for carrying weapons. They are known for agitating and protesting for a fairer deal within the Nigerian state or a breakaway from the Nigerian state. So this is the two things that they were arguing for, and nobody has ever accused that organization of carrying arms. So if you know that you are then contending with an unarmed organization and you are seeking to arrest their leader, all you even need to do is just send one single policeman and say, go and arrest this man. The guy will walk in under the authority of his uniform and effect that arrest. But of course, they sent the army. You don't send an army to go and arrest somebody because it is not a war zone. You send the army to go and fight a war. So immediately that they send the army, you already then know that then they consider that then to be a war situation, even though these people were unarmed. And in a war situation, of course, you are not seeking to effect an arrest. You are seeking to eliminate your opponents, and that is effectively what the mandate was on that day in September 2017. So Nnamdi Kanu was right on that one. They were after his life, effectively, was what was happening there. So now he's now inviting a dialogue, which I agree with, but which we also know is never going to happen. Can you imagine somebody like Malam Buhari, with the arrogance of his ignorance, acceding to having a dialogue with somebody like Nnamdi Kanu? The guy is too low of wit to understand the opportunity that presents. All he understands is Yamutu. So his only idea is just, Shebi, I control the army, weigh the army against them now. Shebi, if they don't go on their knees, wipe them all out. So that is the only understanding, that is just a Yamutu mindset, and that is really all this guy understands. Brutality upon brutality, and then add the spice of brutality, a little bit of salt, and more brutality again. And that is really the whole concept that Buhari understands. So this invitation to a dialogue by Kanu, a good idea, but something that is never going to happen. But then, of course, you have to look at the narrative in its entirety, because if you look at what this Kanu has had to endure in the course of this agitation, a heavy price has been paid. Now, anybody that follows this channel will know that I am not Nnamdi Kanu's #1 fan. No, I am not. I'm not even his #2 fan. I'm not even in the top 10 of his fans, because I have my own issues with the guy, and I have my own issues with the sincerity of his positioning. But really, if you are just looking at the raw data of what's been transpiring with regards to this guy, he has paid a heavy price. So they have gone to his family home to shoot the place up on the instruction of Malam Buhari. A lot of people lost their lives in that incident, of course, and as a consequence of that, his mother was traumatized and then effectively lost her life earlier on this year. So a consequence and a collateral of that attack by Malam Buhari's men on Nnamdi Kanu's family home is the loss of his mother. So now that is a real price to pay, because the first thing, of course, that most men want to defend is their mother. So now he's now had to pay the price of his mother for this IPOB agitation thing that he is doing. So that is a price that you have to acknowledge, because it is actually a factual thing. It is something that actually happened. So it is not something that is subjective. It is not a matter of opinion. It's not what I think. It is not what Nnamdi Kanu is telling us. It is something that happened. So they went and attacked his home in that 2017 incident, and as a result of that, the mother was left so shaken and traumatized that she then, as a consequence of that, started to develop this ailment, which then led to her debilitation, which consequently led to her death. So the direct consequence of that attack is the death of his mother. They might as well have shot her on the day, because they didn't shoot her on the day, but she died later as a result of that incident. So that death of his mother is directly attributed to what Malam Buhari's agents went to do in his home. So that's a direct consequence right there, and that is, of course, a price that Nnamdi Kanu has had to pay personally for a political position that he has adopted. So that's a consequence. And he's also right, by the way, that his father also is a victim of this. Because if you imagine that his father would have been married to his mother for 50 odd years, and the mother has suddenly been snatched away as a consequence of an action of a Fulani man from a foreign land, effectively, because Daura might as well be a foreign land, and we don't even know where Buhari is from. It might well be from Niger Republic, because Abacha, of course, was never even a Nigerian. So all these people, when they are under the Fulani umbrella, they can come from anywhere and claim anywhere. Abacha was never a Nigerian. Abacha was from Niger Republic, but he ruled Nigeria for so many years, so we don't even know where Malam Buhari is from. They just say he's Fulani, and they've allocated Daura as his hometown, and we are going with that. But effectively, for an Igbo man, he might as well be from Lagos. He's a foreigner, because he's not from their own yard. So anybody in Nigeria that is not from your own yard is a foreigner. So as a result of the actions of this foreign element that is foreign in all ways, as almost, it might as well be a Chinaman, because the Fulanis are so removed from the Igbo race, both in language, culture, thinking, orientation, outlook on life, want, everything. The whole garment of their being is completely antithetical and in a direct opposition to the Igbo being. So they might as well be from Mars, so they're just completely different people. So this foreigner took an action in Nnamdi Kanu's homestead that has led to the death of his mother. So this is something that we have to acknowledge as a statement of fact, and it is a statement of fact because this is exactly what happened, and we saw it happen. So now, conversations in the comment section now, and Nnamdi Kanu is now inviting these people to a dialogue, and we know, of course, that they will dismiss him out of hand, and the moment he steps his foot into Nigeria, then really their fasting and prayer has to begin in Igbo land, because he's in the lap of the gods from then on in. Come tell me all about it, your thoughts on this invitation that the Igbo man has extended to the Malami. Come tell me what you are making of all this. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me what you are making of this Igbo, Fulani, IPOB, Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu and dialogue mix up, all this potpourri that we're having to contend with. Come tell me your take of it, or your take on it rather, in the comment section. So I'll leave you here and engage with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.